So today we're talking about Gary Keller, founder of Keller Williams International Realty, his bold truths. And these bold truths really just tie into our mindset. Ultimately, these truths that he's spoken of aren't even specific to real estate sales. These can be applicable to anybody, and no matter where you are in your life or what your profession is, these bold truths that he has shared are inspiring, and they give us a framework, a good framework on how we ought to conduct ourselves in lives and how we should view the world around us. And we're going to go through these, and I'm also going to share some personal stories and examples of how these are applicable. And jumping right into it, the first bold truth that Gary talks about is happiness is a choice. And this reminds me of a great friend of mine. I'm going to call him Joe just to keep it anonymous, but I met Joe probably 4 years ago in a men's group, and we were sharing stories about our life. And Joe shared what he had been through, and this man had he was married. He's a world-class structural engineer, and at the time he was a general contractor, a developer, and an architect, and he was building spec homes down near Estes Park in Colorado. And he and his wife's dream was to have children, and she couldn't have children. And they went through the recession in 2008, and during that time he had lost everything. And they had two adopted daughters, and were going through a really, really difficult time financially. And ultimately in 2017, Joe's wife unfortunately took her life. And Joe decided to pack up, move here to Vail, Colorado, here in Eagle County, and bought a home and rebuilt his brand, rebuilt his business, started working for another company, and is raising two daughters on his own. And daughters that were adopted and were traumatized by losing their mother. And I have just become very close with Joe over these past few years, and witness him stand strong in his faith. He has stood strong and mentored and led his daughters to victorious lives, not without challenge. Has remarried and has two other adopted daughters now, and life has been hard. He started a new company, and something about Joe that's always been inspiring to me is that happiness is a choice. He has always chosen the higher path, to have a mindset that the glass is always half full despite massive adversity. So wherever you are in your life right now, as difficult as it may be, and we do have an opportunity every day when we wake up to choose joy, peace, happiness, to do the work that's in front of us, and to do it with kindness to others, and it can transform other people's lives. Just something as simply as smiling at a stranger will often bring out the best of them. So just remember that happiness is always a choice. Life is hard, and none of us get out unscathed, but we do have opportunities to make free will decisions every day to be happy. And the second bold truth, Gary Keller's bold truth, is life is an inside job. And what he means by that is everything starts with our body, our mind, our thoughts, and how we take care of our own self. And I formerly was in the fitness profession for 20 years as a personal trainer, a coach, and I got into the fitness business because of my own health issues. As a young man, I have a multi-level spine fusion, had a lot of problems. I was morbidly obese as a teenager, and in 2015, I had a hockey coach that inspired me to take control of my physical fitness, to really gained control of my life, because it was out of control when I was a teenager. And when we take care of our bodies, and when we pay attention to what we're eating, what we're consuming with our eyes, what we're watching on television, how much exercise we're getting, the quality of our sleep, the quality of the people that we surround ourselves with, is going to manifest into other areas of our life, in our relationships and our business practices. So it's an inside job. It's really difficult to lead other people, and to lead our families, and to lead our communities, if we're not leading ourselves well. And it all starts with what we consume and how much regular exercise we're getting. Number 3, what you focus on expands. And here's a little story. In 2016, I went through a divorce. And during that time, I was under massive financial duress. I had no money. I was in debt up to my eyeballs. I was trying to rebuild my life. I was in the middle of a transition, starting a new business. And I had made it a fierce goal to be financially free. And I had focused with so much intention to be out of debt, and to have an emergency fund saved, to build wealth, to have home ownership again, and to start working towards an ultimate future where I could retire with dignity. And my mind was so focused on this initiative that I ended up buying a 2-bedroom condo in Edwards, Colorado here, where I'm currently living. And I immediately, I barely was able to get approved to buy this home. I had no money. And I immediately, as soon as I took possession of the home, ripped apart the master bedroom and built, my son and I, he was 5 years old at the time, he was helping me, we built a 3rd bedroom in this condominium. And then we took the garage and built a loft, and we had a little refrigerator down there, a television, we had heaters and a little couch. And my son at 5 years old and I lived in the garage of this condominium, and we rented out a now 3-bedroom that was a 2-bedroom condominium. We rented it out on Airbnb. And I did that because I was so focused on paying off the debt that I inherited during the divorce, and to accumulate cash reserves so that I could get ahead in my life. And that was in 2017. We netted $70,000 of rental income, renting out the unit and mostly on the weekends. And it was able to get me out of consumer debt that I had accumulated through my divorce, and get me into a position where I had 6 months of an emergency fund. And it was all because my mind had expanded on exactly what I was focused on. I was focused on creating financial freedom, and it was something that I was intent with focus on, and it expanded to where I was able to develop a self-sustaining business, and ultimately getting into another business as a real estate professional. And I have been on a wealth building path since, because my mind has focused on that. So what you focus on expands. The next bold truth is the path is in the math. And it's really difficult to have a trajectory in life, whether it's a fitness goal, whether it's a financial goal, a relationship goal, if you don't know where you are and where you're going. And if you, for example, if you have a retirement goal and you don't know that the S&P 500, for example, over the last 30 years averages 10%, and there's compounding interest, and you don't have a plan where you know how the compounding interest works and what you're starting with and what the ultimate end goal is you don't know how much to invest in any month. If you don't have a monthly budget for your personal finance or your business, and you don't know exactly what your expenses are, whether they're fixed or variable, it's going to be a really hard time to build wealth or to build a business if you don't know what the math is. So my encouragement to you is, whether it's in business or your personal finance, you have to know your numbers. You have to know what your monthly expenses are. You have to know what your fixed expenses, your variable expenses are. You have to know how compounding interest works. When it comes to real estate transactions, you have to know if, for example, you want to make $30,000 in your first year of real estate, and that at 2.5% commission rate, that you have to sell just over $1 million home, or $1 million in gross on the property. You have to sell over $1 million if you're going to gross $25,000-$30,000. You have to know the math. You have to understand that a 2.5% commission rate, and then by the time that you pay the company dollar to your brokerage, and then you have to pay taxes, you have to understand that on $1 million property, you might think, oh my goodness, at 3%, I'm going to make $30,000, until you realize you have to pay your brokerage $7,500, and then you have to pay a 20 to 30% tax to the IRS on that money. It's going to take your net commission down to $15,000, where you might have thought, oh, I just didn't need to sell this $1 million home, when in reality, to get to that net number of $30,000, you actually have to do double the business. So you have to understand where your money's going. Always know your math in your business, your personal finance, and in your life. The fifth bold truth that we're going to talk about is there is no try. Henry Ford once said, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. Attempts, while they might be falling on good intentions, attempts aren't good enough. There is no try. You have to do. You have to execute, and you have to continue to execute until you reach your goals in life. There is no try. You only execute. You execute and you learn along the way. I always say in life, we're either winning or learning. And when you're out there giving it your best, and you're pursuing every day, you're going to win, or you're going to learn something. You're winning or learning. So the learning lessons are always going to be very valuable, and we'll get to that a little bit further on as we go through these bold truths. Number 6, life isn't fair. Comparison is the thief of joy. When we start comparing ourselves to others' successes or their plight in life, we're going to find ourselves discouraged. Life isn't fair. And I had a friend once tell me a story. It's a little bit of cliche coffee cup wisdom, but if there was a group of individuals and we were all sitting around a table, and we all in our most vulnerable, intimate moments shared our deepest, darkest struggles, and we threw them out on the table, and everyone on the table was able to see what all of us were going through, we would all take our problems back, because they're all unique to our own experiences. What I have overcome in my own life might seem daunting to somebody else, and like my friend Joe, I would never want to experience what he's gone through in his life, because it's unique to him. Life isn't fair. The only scoreboard that we have is the scoreboard that we have with ourselves. So this is why we want to get up every day and do the best we can and execute with the tools that we're given. Number 7, you fail your way to success. Back during the recession in 2008, I had a successful gym business with another woman here in Edwards, Colorado, locally. I was getting promoted at the Ritz-Carlton in Bachelor Gulch. I was a fitness trainer and I had received a few promotions and things were going well. My wife at the time, we had just bought our first home in Avon in 2007. And then by 2009 or 10, everything had gone away. The gym business had failed. I had lost my job at the Ritz-Carlton. My wife had been laid off at work. We had a son on the way, and we're in serious financial turmoil. We had lost 100% of our value in the condominium that we had owned. And when my son Nash was born, we decided that Nancy, my ex-partner, was going to stay home and be a stay-at-home mom, and I was going to be the breadwinner. And I was working multiple jobs, and I was bellhopping. I was serving tables. I had a few fitness students on the side still, and I was working at the Marriott as a on-call banquet server. And one night, I was polishing silverware in the kitchen after an event, and there was an elderly woman who was polishing silverware alongside of me, and I had asked her how she was doing, and she told me that she was living the dream. And I said to her, "What does that look like?" And she looked confused, and then she snapped back at me and said, "Actually, Ryan, this dream has been miserable. My husband and I moved here in the 60s. We never invested any of our money. We never bought real estate. And we never planned for our future." And she said to me that she was going to have to work banquets until the day she died because she didn't have any money. And there was a lesson to me during that time that despite my own failures, that weren't even necessarily caused by me or my wife at the time, we were going through failing business during a down economy. We bought a home at the wrong time and it was a massive failure, that we fail our way to success. And the conversation I had with my coworker when we were at this banquet polishing silverware, it was a turning point in my own life, looking at my own failures and looking, unfortunately, at the failures of this woman and making an active decision that wasn't going to be me. I was never going to be under financial duress again if I had anything to do with it. I was going to take that. I took that experience, that no matter what, there are going to be variables that I couldn't control in my life, like a recession, but there are things I could control. I could control my spending. I could control how hard I worked, how kind I could be to people, the business relationships I had, the calculated risks, so that I was never in that situation. And I would not have learned any of that if it weren't for the failures of the Great Recession that took place in 2008. So just remember, our failures, while they might be setbacks, they are some of the most potent moments in our life that help us grow and refine and become better at what we put our minds to. Number 8, where belief lives, fear cannot. When I was 18 years old, I went through an 18-hour spinal fusion surgery where they fused my spine from the base of my neck down to my hip. And it was a very fearful moment in my life. And it was a terrible recovery. It was a year-long recovery. And I remember it being such a defining time as a young adult. I was 18 years old. And despite the fear going into this, I was told by surgeons that my life would never be the same, that I would have to give up athletic endeavors that I'm passionate about, that I wasn't going to be a normal human, but rather a pedestrian. I was going to live a pedestrian lifestyle, as Dr. Pranenda Gupta told me. And I had this unwavering belief that I was not going to live a pedestrian lifestyle and that I was going to be able to rise up and still live the life that I had perceived in my mind that I dreamt of. And I've been a lifelong skier, and I was in Ohio at the time before I was going to go into college after the surgery. And I always had dreams of continuing to be a lifelong skier. And I always had this belief that I wasn't going to be defined by my limitations. And I've always believed that. I've always believed that I was going to be able to rise above it, and I was able to through that belief system, and was able to rehab my body through strength training. And here, oh my goodness, how many years ago was, I mean, this is over 25 years ago. 27 years ago now, I feel better at 45 years old than I've ever felt in my life. I don't live with back pain. I have not been limited by any physical limitations whatsoever. And I, no pun intended, but strongly believe that the reason that I don't experience limitations is because of my belief system that I'm not limited in it. And that my body is strong, it's healthy, I take care of it. And I've been able to rise above that affliction just on our belief system. When we have a strong enough belief about something, fear cannot exist. And likewise, when we have a negative belief system or a self-limiting belief system, and we focus on that, there is going to be an expansion on that belief system as well. So the point of this is that when we have strong beliefs that move our life in the direction where we're going, it's likely to happen. But when we have self-limiting beliefs of doubt and fear, we're going to focus on that, and it will expand the same way. So kind of going back to the happiness is a choice, the first bold truth is our belief systems define the outcomes in our life. And then number 9, no one succeeds alone. It has been said that we are the product of the 5 people that we spend the most time with. So look at your network of people in your inner circle and who are you spending time with? And you will find out that when you start investigating who you're spending your time with, that a lot of our successes in life are related to those people that we spend our time with. So choose who you spend your time with, and also recognize those who have helped you along your journey, because none of us do this alone, and all of us humans are created to be in communion with others and to have relationship with other people, and identify those people, recognize those people, and understand that your successes are based on others that are around you. And then lastly, love is always the answer. And it reminds me, once I heard a sermon, I believe it was a sermon where there's this idea that it's really, really easy to believe in evil. There's been so many atrocities that have happened in our world, and war, destruction, loss of life, homelessness, abuse, addiction, financial ruin, and there's all these evil things that happen in our lifetime. And it's so easy to focus on the evil. But if we believe that evil exists, then we also have to believe that good exists. If we also believe that there is hate in the world, then we also have to believe that love exists. So love is the answer. Everything comes back to solving problems for people, serving others, and making a difference in other people's lives. And that all comes from a heart of love. And so just in summary, going to go over these bold truths. Happiness is a choice. Life is an inside job. What you focus on expands. Number 4, the path is in the math. There is no try. Number 5. 6, life isn't fair. Number 7, you fail your way to success. And 8, Where belief lives, fear cannot. Number 9, no one succeeds alone, and love is always the answer. Hey, thanks for tuning in today. We'll talk more later.